Hey YouTubers, it's Ray Brown from innovational-health.com coming to you on behalf of Health Travelers, our RV and health component. And today I want to talk about something that is actually healthy and for RVs. And what could that be? Well, that could be how not to freeze to death when you're boondocking. You have to agree that's really healthy and has to do with an RV. And I'm picking boondocking because, you know, when you're parked into a RV park, or you're hooked up to someone else's power grid, the fact is you usually have a choice of either going electric or going with your propane heater that's in your RV. And in fact, there's Mr. Buddy, there's radiant heaters, and most of that I think has been covered quite well on YouTube. And in fact, I'm going to put a link above to a gentleman by the name of Bob Wells CheapRVLiving.com, who has a series on this, and I think his conclusions are spot on. So there's not any reason for me to cover that. But as more and more people, especially people in RVs, are now boondocking, the reality is that I think we need to talk a little bit about just what it takes to go to RVing, sleep comfortably. And the reason why I talk about not freezing to death is you probably are not going to have a external heat source or a heat source inside your RV while you are sleeping. So that's where I'm going to focus on today. And honestly, that's my whole focal point for this message. So where do we start? Well, I would believe we start with something that we can put on all the windows of our RV or our van or our car, whatever that we're having to insulate while we're stopped and going to sleep over for the night. And the best piece of insulation is something called Reflectix. And you can buy it at Home Depot or Lowe's, and it is quite efficient. It's very thin. It can be cut with a regular household scissors quite easily. You put this on all of the windows, and you can stick them down either temporarily or semi-permanently for the winter with masking tape, or as almost all of us do, duct tape. In fact, I would recommend on the windows that you don't need for driving, make it permanent. And the next thing about this is, do not forget, if you have a fantastic fan or an exhaust fan, don't forget to have one of these for that fan, because that's a good way that heat can escape, or that cold can come in. So that's the number one tip, and that is a good way to start this process of getting your RV ready to boondock in a cold temperature. Now, the other thing that we need to talk about is something that maybe shouldn't go unsaid. It seems so simple, and that is, whatever you do, seek out a climate where the temperature is not freezing or below, because it doesn't matter what you have. The reality is, without a heat source, you're probably not going to survive. So this is really an important part, and I spend most of my winter in the two states of Arizona or Florida. California, Southern California works too. I just happen to think it's a little bit more expensive. And the Gulf Coast of Texas also works as well, although I have not tried it. So that would be another tip. The other thing too is when you have your Reflectix in, you could also put up a secondary barrier, especially again in the non-driving windows, of plastic, which again you would tape off, and then you would pull all your shades. If you have curtains in the front, like many Class C's, Class A's, I suppose even Class B's would have, pull those too, because what you're doing is creating multiple layers of air pockets which form great insulation. In fact, I even have a curtain that goes between the main part of my RV and the bedroom. Now, I only have a 25-foot RV, but I do have one of these curtains. And so anyway, that's something that you should do, and in my opinion, make sure that when you go to sleep at night that you're compartmentalized as much as possible, especially in the sleeping area, which is what you want to keep the warmest, obviously, because that's where you are. Okay, so where do you go from there? Well, the next thing I would concentrate on is personal attire. I don't know if you can see what I'm wearing, but here is, I've got a t-shirt, and it is actually a long sleeve t-shirt. Now, I suppose some people would say, hey, that looks pretty much like pajamas, but the fact is this is very warm and keeps my body temperature very level. The other thing that I use is what you might call sweatpants, but I make sure that they're sweatpants that, in fact, these aren't closed, but sometimes you can get the ones where the strings are closed. But anyway, these sweatpants I think are just great. The other thing that you will want, you've got your shirts. You may want long johns. Sometimes the long johns can take place of it. But the other thing you may want, especially when you're hair challenged like I am, that's a hat. Just put a hat on, put it over your ears, and now you're ready to go to bed. But unlike other places where you, especially in the summer, where you're worried about creature comfort, here again, you're worried about not really dying, if you so to speak. And so what I've done is I have just gone out and purchased a sleeping bag, okay? And here's my 2 pillows. This is a sleeping bag that is good down to 20 degrees, okay? And that is very helpful. It actually keeps me very warm. However, there's one other thing, just in case you want to be warmer yet. And sometimes my wife needs this little extra warmth. And that's a pad that can actually fit, a heating pad that can actually fit inside of a sleeping bag. And then you just go with your clothes and you go on it. And this could, you know, a lot of times I've been in temperatures in the high 30s. And when it's like that, it'll be in the 40s inside here because of my the activity prior to going to bed, and also the body heat that I generate. Well, the fact is that this here is really good. In fact, it is powered by a little battery, and it hooks into the sleeping bag. And all of this tucks into a pocket into this heat warmer. Now, there was a company called Brunton, B-R-U-N-T-O-N, that had these specially designed 4 sleeping bags. However, about a year ago, they discontinued their sleeping bag line. Why, I don't know, but they did. And to the rescue came this other company, of which I'm holding, and it's called Nobile Mobile Warming, and it's sold by the warmingstore.com. And what's really cool about this is not only can it be used as a sleeping bag warmer, and it's primarily sold as a golf cart warmer, seat warmer. Well, why is that important? Well, there's probably not too many of us golfing, especially in the winter. But the fact is, it has straps on the back. And let's say that you're going out for your morning coffee before it warms up. And the fact is you could actually put this right on a picnic bench if you wanted, you know, or some sort of a surface, and actually sit on it while it's warm. This actually has 4 different settings. It's on the low setting now. Let's see if if you can see that. And then by just pressing this little button down here, it goes to the 2nd, to the 3rd, and to the 4th. The 4th setting is by far the warmest, but of course, like all things, it'll just last a little bit. By changing it, and when I say a little bit, I'm talking like 3 hours. Not enough really to be used as a sleeping bag warmer. If you go on 3, it is basically going to last you about 6-7 hours. However, if you put it on 2, and a lot of times I have it on 2, that'll get you a good 7, 8, 9 hours. And then finally, if you put it on just 1, which a lot of times I wake up at night and I will literally put this on 1 because it's too warm in my sleeping bag. Well, this actually on 1 is good for 20-hour charge. And how do you charge it? Yeah, pretty simple. When you're running your generator or you're plugged into solar, you simply plug this in at the same time. And this takes about 2-3 hours to go to fully charge. And then it will be good, truthfully, between, say, 6 and 20 hours, depending upon what you have for your particular heat needs. And so that's pretty much the coolest thing that I've found if you want to stay warm and you're a person that needs a lot of layers to keep yourself warm. So basically, the whole idea is layers. Put your Reflectix on. You could put some plastic over the top of that. Make sure it's a good seal. Don't forget your fantastic fan vents. Pull all your blinds. Pull all of your fabric shades, especially in the front. Don't forget the front, because you'd have a lot of heat seepage out of those windows. And then when you're in the bedroom, don't forget about yourself. Number 1 is your clothing, and then number 2 is you need I would suggest a good sleeping bag, one that, like I said, 20 to 40 degrees should do it. And then finally, if you want to really go all out like I did, you can have this sleeping bag heater, and I do recommend it. And it was not that expensive, and I was able to actually get it for a little bit of a discount if you look around online. But anyway, and the golf stores are a good place to find these items. So anyway, that is Ray from Health Travelers. We're sponsored, of course, by innovational-health.com. And we want to do everything to make your traveling as pleasurable and healthy as possible. So, don't forget your hat. I won't. Like me if this isn't too weird. I've got a lot more stuff coming out for you. Hey, have a great day.